everything was amazing. Life was fantastic for me. I got to be with my son and my wife. I was walking again. I was back to jogging and riding my bicycle 7 weeks after transplant, and everything was great.
Hey folks, welcome to the Transplant Helper again. Today, my name is Jim Merle. It's time again for yet another edition of Friday's Fighter. That is the program where I allow you, the transplant recipient, to tell your story in your own words. And I'm very excited to have today's guest with me. He's a great friend of mine on all the social media channels. His name is Mark A. Barber, and he's certainly a strong man among transplant patients, as you'll see here in just a moment. Now, let me go ahead and point out, because I don't think he mentions it in this video, but Mark A. Barber is actually training right now to be a part of the Transplant Games in Salt Lake City, just around the corner. That's been a goal of his for quite a long while, and that's basically because his dad, who is also a heart transplant recipient of 1980-something, his dad actually participated in some of the earlier and first Transplant Games, and so that's been Mark's goal for a while to go ahead and get back to that. But nonetheless, I promise you, you will love Mark's story today. You'll love hearing about his journey. He's an inspiration. He is an absolute great advocate and mentor for all of us as transplant patients. But without further ado, let's turn it over to Mark.
Hey everyone, how are you today? My name is Mark Barber, and this is my submission for the Transplant Helper Friday Fighter video. I am a 2-year heart recipient survivor as of June 3rd, 2018. So as I'm filming this, I'm 2 days away from it, which is pretty special for me. And my last 2 years have been pretty amazing. They've been filled with a lot of highs and some lows, but the biggest words I can use to describe my 2 years as a transplant recipient are humbling and gratitude. I've dedicated my new life to helping others, and I've done that in a couple ways. The main way has been as an advocate for organ donation advocacy, awareness, and having people register as organ donors, which is something I'm incredibly passionate about. And I have been since I was a teenager. And that's a unique part of my story, is that when I was 11 years old, my father received a heart transplant, and that was back in 1983 when heart transplants were still a very new thing in the country. And I believe my father was one of the first 100 transplants done for hearts. So I grew up knowing that transplantation was a normal thing. And I never thought anything other than being a registered donor was normal, and having people sign up to be a donor was the right thing to do. So that was always part of my life. And my father taught my entire family to be grateful for every day we have and not to take anything for granted. And we were lucky enough to have 12 extra years with my father when he was only given a 5-year life expectancy with his heart. So fast forward to 2 years ago, actually a little over 2.5 years ago, where I was a lifelong athlete, a marathon runner, triathlete, and cyclist, and I got sick after a triathlon in which I almost drowned during the swim. I finished that race because I'm stubborn that way. And upon my wife's insistence, I went to an urgent care and was diagnosed with pneumonia. And on a chest x-ray, it showed that I had an enlarged heart and fluid in my lungs. So I was treated for about 2.5 months for pneumonia. I got a little better, did a bike race, and then a couple days later, I felt so bad I couldn't breathe. My wife forced me to go to the ER. Again, I didn't listen to her because I'm stubborn. Went to an urgent care again. They forced me to go to the ER by ambulance. Turns out I was in heart, liver, and kidney failure, and I had a condition called dilated cardiomyopathy, which was the identical condition my father had. But back in 1983, they thought my father had a viral cardiomyopathy and didn't know it was a hereditary condition. So I grew up healthy, and then all of a sudden I wasn't. There was never any indication that I would have this condition or anyone else in my family would. I never knew to hold back on anything. I had I had been tested throughout college by a cardiologist because I went to college on a track scholarship for about 2 years, and everything was fine until it wasn't. So I was lucky in my situation that I was a very healthy, sick person. After spending 35 days in the CCU at my hospital in Miami, I waited 6.5 months at home before I got the call for my heart. So I waited a total of 8 months before getting the call. And during my first year post-transplant, it was a picture-perfect recovery. I didn't spend any time in the hospital. Everything was amazing. Life was fantastic for me. I got to be with my son and my wife. I was walking again. I was back to jogging and riding my bicycle 7 weeks after transplant, and everything was great. And then in the second year, it seemed like my bubble burst a little bit. And over the past year, I've been in and out of the hospital. I think now the count is up to about 7 times, maybe 8, not including ER visits where they just sent me home. And for various things like dehydration or kidney failure that I recovered from, or the flu, which almost killed me. I spent 6 days in the hospital for that. And I had arrhythmias where I had to get a device put in that records weird arrhythmias I have, sometimes when I'm cycling or swimming or exercising or just doing nothing. And that's a little more what transplant life is like. But the constants are my gratitude for the life that I have and the humility that I have, and with the gift that I've been given. It's such a humbling experience to have received such an amazing gift from my donor. And as part of my giving back as a recipient, I volunteer with Life Alliance Recovery Organization, which is our local OPO, or organ procurement organization in Miami, where I get to volunteer with other organ recipients and, more importantly, with donor families and donor parents, where their children or family members have become organ donors. And to be alongside those people is such an amazing experience. And it's taught me what selfless generosity is. I grew up thinking that I knew what it was, but to be alongside these amazing mothers, and there are 5 that I'm incredibly close with, and they know who they are. It's such a humbling experience. And I feel every day I have to honor my donor and these donor families. And that's just my driving force every day, is honor my donor, be here for my son and my wife, and to live a life full of love, joy, happiness, and positivity, because I feel it's the least I could do for my donor. And I'm lucky enough where I'm healthy enough to go and exercise as I can, where I could ride my bike and I can swim in a pool and advocate. And I'm just fortunate. And that's my story in 8 minutes. I went over the time, Jim. Sorry about that. If you need a shorter video, I'll send it to you. Other than that, stay stronger, everyone. And this is me, Mark Strong, and have a grateful day.
What I tell you, wasn't Mark great? Mark is certainly an inspiration to me, and I'm sure he will be to you as well. Again, I'm going to have some links beneath this video that will take you over to his Facebook pages, other places where you can learn more about Mark, because he is certainly an advocate as well as an encourager. I appreciate you joining me today. And by the way, if you'd like to be a part of Friday's Fighter, go ahead and hit me up on my Facebook page and or maybe send me a private message on Facebook. I would love to have you telling your story on one of the future episodes, and I'll look forward to that. I'll in turn send you back a link where I can show you exactly how that can be done. But nonetheless, I appreciate you viewing this program today. If it's helped you out in any way, go ahead and give me a big like or thumbs up. Maybe share this out to some of your friends that would benefit from it, and even check out some of the videos that'll be up here on the screen in just a moment right out beside me. And also, please be willing to comment below. Go ahead and congratulate Mark on his journey, as well as maybe begin to share a piece of yours. I promise you, you'll be an inspiration just as he is, and all of us work together in the Transplant Helper community. But anyway, as Mark's already said, until next time, please stay stronger, friends.